Hey, what's up, guys? Excuse the earpods for right now. What I'm doing is I'm trying to monitor to make sure. I thought I fixed the delay. I think we should be good to go. Yeah, looks like we are pretty good. So I'll pop these out. Let me know if at any time it kind of gets out of sync, because YouTube's kind of funny in terms of exactly how the stream works, and sometimes it's pretty healthy and sometimes it seems like it takes a while. So if it starts buffering, like right now my streamer says it looks good, but YouTube is kind of having some issues. It looks like I might have to restart. We'll see. But so far for me in monitoring, it looks like it's going okay. So let me know how it sounds for you guys. But today what we'll be talking about is we're going to talk more about kind of winter backpacking stuff, as well as cover some questions that I've got. I see a bunch of you guys already in the chat, so that's pretty awesome. You guys are getting the party started already and pretty early. So one question that I thought was a really good one to start with is someone asked recently in one of my videos, so if I had to choose just one backpacking quilt, so just one that I would have to kind of go with and use it all year long, what would I what would I do? Hey, Adam, Restless Outdoors, eating popcorn with a poop trowel. That does not sound appealing right now. So what we're talking about is that quilt. I use an Enlightened Equipment 20-degree quilt, and if I had to recommend one quilt that you use year-round, I think 15 to 20 degrees is kind of a good range that you want to hit overall. It's one of those things where it allows you, even in the dead of summer, as hot as it has been. There have been times when I've taken the 20-degree quilt and I sometimes don't use it. I'll just kind of keep it in a stuff sack and toss it at the end of the hammock, or keep it in the Warbonnet Blackbird shelf. Another thing I try to do as well is I kind of vent it a lot during the summer. And it also has the added option, with sleep clothes, you can go down lower than the 20 degrees. So that's pretty good. Samuel already with a great question, asking about if I put a blanket or cover between you and your sleeping pad, and does this change with the seasons? The answer is no. I typically do not have anything between me. I use the X-Therm pretty exclusively now. You guys who watch me know, even in my hammock, and there's nothing between me and the X-Therm. The key is underinflating your pad, and that helps it make it a little less slippery, I find. But it is going to be a little slippery when you first get started. But pretty much what it's just the X-Therm, it does such a great job of reflecting the heat back to you. You don't need anything between you and that pad, and you kind of want it to reflect all your body heat, I think. So I would not suggest using a blanket with the X-Therm. Other pads, maybe that's kind of up to you, depending on if you feel comfortable with that. Oh, a little out of sync already. So let me see. Let me check. So this way, it's not awful for the people on playback. Okay, it looks like it's not terrible. It just seems like it's like a bad karate movie or something. So yeah, it's not bad right now. I'll keep an eye on it, but let me know if it gets too out of hand, because it gets like unwatchable for people who are watching it afterwards. But kind of going back to that question that was asked, that's kind of what I do is using that. I don't really use a blanket or a cover. But yeah, it does sound like a bad Chinese dub sometimes. Let's see. Oh, Tim V is driving, or not driving anymore. Thank you. Okay. The sync is off in milliseconds. Yeah, just a little bit. I think I have a delay of 500 milliseconds. In terms of quilt that I'm using right now, is the Enlightened Equipment Enigma. That's kind of my go-to. I've kind of used it. Hey, Alex. It's kind of my go-to that I've used pretty much consistently, and it works really well. And if I get too cold, usually I just kind of layer up on the sleeping clothes. The pod, I've seen those hammock hanging pods that Hiker Bro was talking about, where you enclose the entire entire hammock in an overall sleeping pod, and it's just not something that I like the look of, honestly. I guess I'm willing to try anything, but the big thing, thanks Mr. T-Max for keeping me up on the sync, by the way. I'll try anything, but I just don't feel comfortable with that straight lay. I know some of those some companies who make the pods say, it is possible to have the straight lay, and I know a couple people who lay straight on the hammock, but the pod kind of forces you in that direction, And I don't know if it's because I'm tall, but I just cannot do that way. In order to get the flattest lay possible, I go diagonal, and the pod stops me from doing that. So for me, that would kind of rule it out. Would I try it? Yeah, I probably would try it. But it's not something that I think I would want to use regularly. So we'll see. Yeah, top and bottom quilts work well. This is kind of a spoiler, but I actually got rid of my underquilt because I use the whatchamacallit, the Xtherm so exclusively, and I've kind of gotten used to it. I really didn't need an underquilt. I may pick up an underquilt at some point again, because honestly, an underquilt is going to be more comfortable. But it's something where I don't really see the need for an underquilt with a pad. I feel like the pad does a much better job blocking the wind, just because it's a solid thing. It's not like the underquilt where sometimes you have to worry about migrating your down around. You sometimes have to worry about, did you cinch it up properly, what direction you're going into the wind, and there's more issues I find with kind of adjusting an underquilt. But yeah, Backcountry Exposure's talking about the Outdoor Vitals, people talking about arguing with the straight lay, but I'm just not. I saw that video and I just not a super fan of that straight lay, and so I mean, if it works for some people, great, but for me, I'm not a big fan of it. Let's see. My problem with winter backpacking is all the quilt's layers required. It takes up so much space in the pack. If your knees can't hyperextend, it's not going to be comfortable. Yeah, and that's what I think. If that straight lay, my knees are what really ends up bothering me, just because it just feels odd. Let's see. What camera do I film my videos with? And you guys who watch me a lot know the iPhone 7 is what I use pretty much exclusively. The only time I don't use the iPhone 7 right now is I'm just using the webcam on the Mac, and the iPhone 7 has worked great, honestly. It's something where I don't almost see a need to go to anything else. Maybe at some point I want to get something fancy. I could see myself doing that. But right now, I love how portable it is. I actually, up till this Dolly Sods video, I've done all my editing on that phone, which for trip videos, let me tell you, is a giant pain. Editing on Final Cut Pro on the Mac has been phenomenal. It's something where it's so easy to use, and it doesn't struggle, because my phone had such a hard time. I remember the Michigan trip, my phone had such a hard time processing all that information. It took forever for me to do that Michigan video, just because you're moving around all those clips by hand and switching things around. Nightmare. AWOL Explorer, hey Jeremy, talking about Outdoor Vitals 0 degree, comfort rating is spot on, lots of room. And actually, you guys have mentioned Outdoor Vitals a bunch. They're a company that's contacted me, and I actually am really impressed by what I see. They're sending out a 0 degree bag at some point for me to try, and so you guys will be able to see it. It's the 0 degree Summit, and I don't want to kind of call Outdoor Vitals a budget company, because at first, honestly, I've seen their ads all over the place, and most of you guys have, if you're into kind of outdoors YouTube stuff. But I saw their ads all over the place, and I kind of lumped them in my head along with Peria Outdoors, more of a budget type company. But now that I look at their products online a little bit more in detail, I wonder if I'm kind of short selling them a little bit. I think they look like they're almost trying to compete with the higher end companies, where they're just trying to make quality gear for an affordable price, which is, I think that's one of the things I think in my channel I haven't done as good a job with, and I'm going to try to do more of that, is talking about quality gear and making sure that it's something that you can still afford and it's not out of reach. iPhone a lot, going to the ground for winter. I don't think I'm going to go to the ground for winter, but it's something that I'm pretty sure I keep ground as an option, just in case. iPhone 7 made the Dolly Sods. Yeah, Dolly Sods, that color was amazing. I couldn't believe it when I got back to look at the video, and I put it in editing, and it was just awesome. It just really, like you said, Adam, it really popped. A comparison of those Z-Pack poles, Cascade Mountain Designs is sending out a pair for me. That way I can have a side-by-side comparison, because I do want to do that. I feel like that's the least I can do is do a straight-up comparison, have you guys see exactly if there is a difference, if there is not, because it's possible they're made in the same factory. I don't know for sure, but it looks very similar just from the video and pictures I've seen, but I haven't seen a side-by-side video. Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Dixie Mr. T-Max. She's one of the YouTubers I follow, and her video just came out, I think, just a couple hours earlier, and so it's something I still have to end up finishing watching. Do I like Final Cut Pro much better than iMovie? I think you can do a lot more with Final Cut Pro, and so I found like it's an easy transition from iMovie to Final Cut Pro. But Final Cut Pro, I know right now I am barely scratching the surface of editing and what I can do. So it's something where I can see myself hopefully growing as an editor. I have so much to learn about editing. It's kind of ridiculous, just watching YouTube videos, because I like watching YouTube. I don't know about you guys. That's why I kind of watch a lot of people's channels and I comment, because I'm watching it already anyway. So it's something where I'm definitely doing that. Let me check on the syncing. Let's see, it looks like the audio is off slightly now, and so that's something that I don't know why YouTube does that. Let's go ahead and change it just a little. So I think this is too much now. So let's go ahead and try that delay and see how that works. Sorry for the mix up here, guys. So going back to talking. Sorry, I'm staring into your eyes now, and make sure everything syncs up. Yeah, see, so the delay is crazy how it just changes over time, and I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, now it's a little better. So let's see, going back, what did I miss? iPhone, yep, that's what I use. See, Scott, Final Cut Pro, yeah, it's a really nice upgrade. Perry and Outdoor Vitals are doing cool things. Taysom's beard is awful though, and you know, I kind of lumped Outdoor Vitals and Perry together. And I don't know, Devin, what you think about saying that they're kind of on the same level, but looking overall at how they at least they priced their gear, it seemed like they were, but I don't know, the maybe it's just marketing, but the materials, it looks like Outdoor Vitals uses, to me, looks like higher quality. So I think that's great. Let's see. Xtherm large or regular, a better fit with large. I would definitely recommend getting the large in a hammock. I find that it does a better job of making sure that my arms stay on the pad. It's something where it's not going to slip off as much. With the regular, I feel like I would just be sleeping like this and crossing my arms over my chest like I'm in a coffin to make sure it doesn't come off. So I would recommend getting large, especially if you're a bigger guy. It's easier to adjust that larger pad in the hammock. If you're going to the ground, I think no one likes to sleep with their arms off the pad. At least the majority of people do not. At least I don't. So I would suggest large all the way, not the max. I know the max, the Xtherm Max, is kind of the square or rectangular pad. I don't think I would get that. I don't think that's necessary, but the large is fine. Oh, you got the Max large. Yeah, see, so I didn't get that one. I got this, like the mummy style shape. And so I didn't mind having the taper. It seems like it works. But I think one thing that the Xtherm Max Large could have is that you don't have your feet kind of coming off of the end as much. It seemed like I had some issues with my feet kind of slipping. And so it's something where I have to kind of keep that in mind. With the large, the Max Large, I don't think that would happen. Having compared Perrier with Outdoor Vitals, I happen to think I like the quality design from Perrier better. I've had more experience with Perrier. Both are designing some great gear. Yeah, I kind of like how affordable they're making it. I kind of talked earlier about making sure I kind of focus on that a little more. I have not looked at Outdoor Vitals pads. I've looked at their tent. I know they have a new tent out. I think the Dominion 2.5 or whatever they call it, which seems like it's reasonable. From what I remember, we were talking about tents last week, and from what I saw, I think it was like 5 pounds, I think, total with everything, and then a lightweight version, you know, more stripped down, probably not including the stakes or anything, is about 3 pounds. So that seemed reasonable to me, and the price also was better than, I remember we were talking last week about some really expensive tents. We talked about the Z-Packs triplex. We talked about the MSR kind of Hubba NX being an option. And I know that's one of those things where thinking about testing of Outdoor Vitals gear, I know I saw Robbie over from Adventure Archives testing that sleeping bag, and he really likes it. But he had a really heavy one before, and so this was a major upgrade for him. But it was kind of cool to see him testing that gear out. Let's see, cheap budget necessarily accessible. Yeah, I think I like the Perry outdoor stuff. I know you probably like your quilt a lot, Devin, so maybe you don't want to hear this, you got to plug your ears. But I actually was kind of disappointed in their quilt, the Perry Outdoors quilt, which is, I mean, it was reasonably priced, but I didn't like that they also tried to still be a sleeping bag, or it seemed like they were. What they ended up doing to me, like I'm pretty simple, like I rather have it be bare bones. And so Perry, I know I keep saying, oh, Perry. I didn't want to, just the zipper I thought was unnecessary, for example. When I look at the Enlightened Equipment Revelation, it's pretty much like, hey, here's a cinch and a cord lock at the bottom, and then the rest of the quilt. That's it. That's what keeps it lighter. I don't know, for example, what kind of down Perry is using, but one of the things that I thought was that it was it was just a little bit too heavy. So, I mean, they're comparable sleeping bags that are that same weight. So I think if they do another quilt and just kind of make it bare bones, hey, here's the quilt, here's a cord lock, or here's a sewn-in foot box, I'd be more likely to want to kind of look into that. Climate Insulated Hammock V. Oh, he lost the feed? I don't know. This feed looks kind of good to me right now, and I'm still getting it. Is everyone still getting the feed? Comment if you are. But it seems like it's still going right now. Tim, as a psychologist, what would you say is the main syndrome exhibited by that strange-looking fellow named Josh that you see in your videos? You have to clarify which Josh, and then I'll get back to your answer, because one of them can beat me up so very easily. Robbie was using the 0 degree sleeping bag for the summer. Feed is still there. Oh, good. Okay. The Outdoor Vitals down is stinky compared to my EE or Hammock gear stuff. Maybe it's stuck down or something. I guess I haven't asked that. One thing I did ask about is whether or not it's ethically sourced, because I know I think that's important nowadays to make sure you're not doing live plucking, because that just seems cruel to me. I don't know about for you guys, but that's one thing they said they're ethically sourced. And I know Outdoor Vitals also designs the stuff in Utah, and they kind of, at least what they've said to me, is that they actually visit the factories that they kind of commission to make their products in China, and so they're aware of exactly what it is. So they have a kind of a close eye on exactly the manufacturing process. So that makes me also feel a little good. Going back to some questions I had this week, that one quilt question, 20 degrees is what I'd suggest. What do you guys think about backpacking locations? That's kind of what I want to know. And so comment down below. I think one of the suggestions that I thought of was the Manistee River Trail. Wonder how that would be in the winter. Knowing it's Michigan, there's going to be snow, of course, most likely, or just bitterly cold. But it's something that I want to do some more winter backpacking, more than I usually have done. And so where do you guys think would be a good idea to kind of go backpacking in the winter? We could also do the Smokies, and some things are in reach, but where do you think would be just absolutely gorgeous to go? So questions, it looks like in cold rain hiking, 32 to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, what's your preferred method of layering to deal with it? Currently looking at a Melanzana microgrid with a Mountain Hardwear rain jacket layered over. I think that is really hard, Scotty. right now, in terms of 32 to 40 degree weather, I tend to just realize that I'm gonna get wet anyway. Not to the point of getting soaked or chilled to the bone, but I kind of embrace that I'm gonna get super sweaty. Typically, what I end up doing is I just usually have my hiking shirt there, and I usually just put the rain jacket over. I use the Outdoor Research Helium 2, and so that thing does not breathe well at all. So I don't have any problem keeping warm, and I'm dry, and I guess I'd rather have a little bit of warm sweat, which is, I know it's dangerous to deal with, but I just try to make sure I kind of pace my hiking if I can. Honestly, if it's raining that much and that kind of cold weather, I tend not to want to overexert myself too bad. And so no one, it seems like, is wearing socks except for Mr. T-Max. Hammock Gear, speaking of them, they really impressed me with their customer service. Those of you guys know I use a Hammock Gear Cuban fiber sleeve, and so it's one of those things that I love. I used it for my Big Mama Jama pretty much exclusively. I used it from the time I got the tarp. I kind of bought the hopefully that answered your question, Scotty. What I ended up doing is looking at getting their black mesh hammock sleeve. And so one problem I had with the new Hammock Gear sleeve is that I like taking my Dutch Wear Stingers, rolling it up into like a little ball around my fingers, and then shoving it into the narrow end of that sleeve, and then rolling up the sleeve. Unfortunately, what happened is I tried that with the new sleeve that I got from Hammock Gear, and it turned out that they narrowed that end of the sleeve, and so they actually made it a little bit smaller. So I was able to tuck the stinger in, but not the lash it wrapped around my fingers. And so I emailed them like, hey, did you guys change something? I noticed you didn't have the Cuban fiber hammock sleeves on there anymore. And they did. They did narrow that opening at the end, and so that was a little bit of a bummer. But they offered right away. They said, hey, just go ahead and return it. We'll send you a prepaid return label. And I sent it back, and they said they're going to make me a new one to the kind of the old specification, so I can tuck that in there. And that is something that's really good customer service. I really did not expect that. I didn't ask for it. He offered it right away, and I thought that was phenomenal. Let's see. Devin has 4 Econo quilts. Hey, yeah, the Econo quilts are great, and they Hammock Gear is in Ohio, and they recently dropped their prices because they said that their sourcing of down dropped quite a bit. And so that was actually really phenomenal to see, because I'm all about getting things affordably. Speaking of trips and Peria, I think, you're invited to join me and some friends to hike the Peria River Canyon in March. We're trying to pull 5 or 6 permits for it. I gotta keep that in mind. March, that'd be gorgeous. Hey, Bushcrafter. Let's see, Warbonnet Mini Fly. Nope, didn't answer that question yet. You're very welcome. Thanks for watching. Warbonnet Mini Fly I love. I was actually a little disappointed that I didn't get a whole lot of rain in the Dalisage trip. We really were anticipating, I was expecting to be soaked the entire time. I was just going to embrace the rain. We were all ready. We had all our gear and didn't even get a chance to break it out just because the weather was so beautiful. So, I'm like, oh, I'm not going to complain about anything. But so far, great. It sets up great. I actually think, is it Paria or Peria? So you say like paw. Oh, Paria maybe? I don't know. I'm going to get this at some point, I think. I'm going to keep saying Peria. Anyway, so, but the Warbonnet Mini Fly has been phenomenal. I think actually it's easier to, this sounds weird, it's really easy to center the hammock under this tarp because of the doors. Maybe that's weird for me. I feel like the Mama Jama, I had a hard time sometimes. I would adjust the hammock, readjust it, make sure it was directly in the center in case it rained. Whereas for the Warbonnet Mini Fly, because of the doors, it's easy to be like, okay, well, I'm definitely off. I need to switch it this way or switch it that way. So, Allegheny National Forest this winter, let me know. Usually lots of snow and cold there in Great Lakes Snowbelt. And don't forget micro spikes if you don't have them essential winter gear. I actually do have, they're not like Catulas or anything, but they're, what do they call? Ice Trekkers, I think, is one of my first purchases I made. And they've been phenomenal. I actually run on Ice Trekkers in the winter. I like running outside in the winter. That's actually, right about now is the time I actually start getting more into running because it's not outside instead. Sorry, Silverhammer. I didn't realize it was choppy. It looks like it's fine from my end. I'm not sure why. But I actually run more in the winter, and so that's one of those things that it's kind of nice to have. What's the one place you really like to camp at just to hang out and have a good time with no pressure at all, just a good time? That's where you need to go on your first winter camp. Oh, the feed looks good on my end too, so maybe Silverhammer, I'm not sure exactly what it is. And the sinking is actually good. In terms of hanging out and camping, I guess, see, but it wouldn't really be a backpacking trip. I like Hocking Hills so much, I would go there all the time. And so that's probably where I would consider, but I don't know. I think the gorge would be kind of fun to see in the winter time down in Kentucky, and that's closer. But I don't know. I think I'll have to think about it more. It definitely will be either a December or January trip, I'm thinking, but I have some more time to think about it, so it'd be kind of fun. Let's see. Gonna get Devin all riled up, I know. The phonetic spelling is Paria. Paria? Paria. Did I get it? Did I get it? Paria. Paria. Okay, maybe that's it. We'll see. We'll see if Devin says anything. I also reached out to Knock Outdoors. Remember last feed we were actually kind of talking about what is it? We were talking about the new water bag from Paria. No, from from Knock Outdoors. Remember, it's that Paria. There we go. I got it. Finally. Okay. But the water bag from Knock Outdoors, it's kind of like a rubbery material, and it has the screw off bottom part, and also the kind of Ziploc style sleeve. And I reached out to them. They actually have all their pre-orders filled. They actually are kind of all out. But when he told me that when he kind of gets it in, I can do a review of it, because it really does look cool. And in terms for comparable weight, that's one of the things that he said he'd be willing to let me kind of test. I'm really curious to see that, because I think that looks really awesome to just set up a gravity feed, and that would be kind of fun to test, honestly. I saw some of the videos that they have on it where someone's kind of CIT Max, someone's kind of jumping up and down on it, and that would be kind of fun to test. I'm not sure if I would feel comfortable doing that. I'm pretty sure I'm just over their weight limit. I think it's like 200 pounds is what their rating is, and I don't think I'll be able to try that. Have you done the bridle trails at Mohican? See, Mohican would be kind of a fun winter trip as well, because I know it's nearby, and they have that giant loop, and so that would be kind of a fun idea. Thanks for that, Dotsie Zerberg. Is that how you say your name? See, I'm having trouble pronouncing today. I swear, I've had nothing but water tonight, nothing else. But going back to some winter camping locations, so Manistee River Trail, we talked about that. Seanock already. One of the questions I had too is for winter camping, I probably will just move away from the alcohol stove, is the plan. At that point, I just kind of want ease of use, and I just don't want to necessarily have to think about having, it's cold out. I don't want to have to spill alcohol, have to worry about it. Sometimes the alcohol stove that I use doesn't necessarily work great in very cold temperatures, so I probably will switch to kind of a canister stove for that. Dotsiuk, Zerberg, Red Wings. Ah, I gotcha. See, I'm not much of a hockey fan. I am a football fan, and so go Bills. And that's who I usually end up watching. Any other locations you guys can think of for backpacking? Kind of either shoot me an email or kind of bounce it in the comments. That'd be kind of fun to have some areas that I've never really thought of doing. Let's see. One of the other questions I had for you guys is, for winter camping, one of the big things that's kind of kept me away from doing it regularly is, at least when you are camping kind of 3-season, you can kind of relax and chill at camp, and you can go hang out by the fire. And of course, if you're winter camping, you'll definitely do that. but it seems like there's more options to do things. Whereas for winter camping or winter backpacking, it seems to me like the whole focus is making sure that you don't freeze, making sure that you try your best to stay warm. And so of course we're going to start out with just a brief kind of winter overnight and kind of build from there. But what do you guys think about that? What do you guys do in camp when you are winter backpacking? Yeah, there's definitely wood to be chopped, but besides chopping wood and doing activities to try to stay warm, what other things are there to do when you're winter backpacking? I ask you the question, so you guys let me know what you would do when you're doing that. See, everyone's answer is stay warm, stay warm. Yeah. Snowball fight. Yeah. Even though I have a really good arm, that's probably something I'm going to stay out of in the winter. After that, I stay warm. Yeah, see, so we'll see. I'm just going to kind of relax and kind of take it easy. And sometimes some of those winter trips can be relaxing. AWOL Explorer asking about a subscriber get-together. I thought about it a couple times. Just never got around to doing it, honestly. And so, but yeah, maybe sometime it'll be kind of fun to have a subscriber get together. I probably would want to do it in Red River Gorge. I talked about that last week, but still in the works. I'm thinking about it. I'm gonna guess if we're gonna do it, it's probably gonna be in the spring at this point, or if we have a really nice day, let's say in November or a nice weekend in November. Depends if the kids. Cisco, please don't draw me a picture. I don't need to see what exactly we're having to do. But hey, I'm gonna leave it at that. Hot Nalgene in the sacks. And that's, oh gosh, hot Nalgene. I'm gonna get in trouble from YouTube. Hot Nalgene in the sack. Snickers bar before bed. The exact same stuff in the summer. Be lazy, eat food, talk fireside stories, heat beverages. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, all stay warm stuff and definitely getting some calories in. Questions that you guys have. I know in the past someone has asked me before about what was it? My kind of keeping my feet warm in the hammock, telling appropriate jokes. And the feet warm in the hammock because sometimes they get cold. I have this coming up in a video, so it's kind of a spoiler. But sometimes what I Pooperia. Puria. See, I got it now. But what I tend to do is I tend to use a Thermarest Z seat, and it's something that's been pretty handy for me. I've had no problems with it. And so what I do is I end up putting that in the foot box of my Enlightened Equipment top quilt, and that really helps keep my feet nice and warm. Oh, sinking is perfect. Good. And down booties is a must-have. Dati Zerberg says. And so I've seen those. I've considered them, but it's not something where I felt the need to necessarily buy into them, I guess. In terms of boots and footwear, I technically don't have any insulated boots. Do you think that's a necessity when you're hiking? I have boots, but I just have never had the need to get insulated boots. Is that something that you definitely is a must-have? You would not go winter backpacking without it? Or is it something where you feel you can kind of get by with something that's more waterproof type Gore-Tex boots? What do you guys think in the comments? I mean, because I know your feet are so important, and it's one of those things where I probably would spring for the insulated boots. I just have not had the need because I do more winter hiking, but just not a whole lot of winter backpacking. Thoughts? Let me know in the comment section. Another question I get sometimes, and I've gotten a couple emails about this, is traditional versus ultralight backpacking. And you guys know I'm not technically an ultralight backpacker. I'm actually considered to be a lightweight backpacker. My base weight tends to be about 11, 12 pounds, so I'm close to being an ultralight. Uninsulated hiking boots. Oh, so it seems like everyone's wearing kind of uninsulated stuff while they're hiking, just kind of warm up when they get to camp, it looks like so far. You guys know that I'm a lightweight backpacker, but it's something where I actually have, it seems like sometimes there's this like big fight between like traditional backpackers who are like, hey, you know, you should be more manly and carry all this stuff into the woods and, you know, bring all this gear and you have to have it all. And ultralight are like, no, well, we can't do that at all. You have to make sure you just carry what you need and just the bare minimum. And, you know, I guess I feel like I'm kind of in the middle. I'm like, well, it doesn't really matter as long as you're kind of comfortable and it works for you and you're being safe. You know, I've seen traditional backpackers out in wilderness areas and they have just as much fun as I do. Granted, to me, I feel like I'm having more fun because my backpack is lighter. But if they're fine with that, then I say to always let people be. I'm not sure exactly why sometimes people feel the need to kind of get at each other over gear stuff. I wonder if it's just like two gearheads just kind of fighting over whatever they have. Let's see. Wool socks. Yep. Got that stuff. Try wearing 2 pairs of socks. Down booties sound good. Winter's a different animal, though. More chances to die. Exactly. Death is a higher possibility. And yeah, bring more gear might be necessary. And I kind of am aware that it's going to get heavier. It just is. While you're walking, regular boots are okay. But when you're standing around camp, if it's below 25 degrees, you'll want the insulation from the ground. Good point. So I think that's probably, you know, I think that's makes sense. I know you mentioned not going to a hammock in the winter, kind of ground sleeping. So I guess that makes sense if you're insulated from the ground as well. That way, by sleeping on it with a good insulated pad, that kind of makes sense as well. Okay, I think that's all I have right now. Anyone have any other additional questions? We've been going for about 40 minutes, looks like, or so. Some stuff you learn only by doing. Sometimes you recognize things others may be assuming, but presenting as fact. I like pads better for the hammock in the winter. Yeah, well, I like pads year round, so yeah, I'm kind of the same way. But it seems like we're winding down here. Kind of went over some of the stuff we're going to talk about, but keep an eye out. I'm going to have that Outdoor Vitals 0 degree bag I'm going to be testing. And one thing that also came up from that, do you remember that Z-Packs trekking poles, is that Knock Outdoors, I think that's how you say it, maybe it's C-Knock Outdoors, has a bunch of trekking poles, and they said they make them similar to You're going to make me get a complex, Devin. Peria Outdoors trekking poles. They're kind of Z-style, but also with adjustability. I'm not sure if I'm going to check it out yet or not, because I feel like I've had my fill of trekking poles, and I kind of like what I have right now. I'm just kind of testing different varieties. Peria. See, dang it! It's always that. I always want to say Peria. Thank you. Call grandma, have her watch the kids. Merino wool buff is great to pull over, complete with the face and Murray bag. Oh, I like that. Thanks, Bill. Merino wool buff. Because yeah, that's the thing that I'm gonna have to adjust with winter backpacking, is just thinking about my gear differently, and realizing that I can't stretch some of the 3-season stuff into winter just because that can be dangerous. So that's something I'm gonna try. Peria. Okay, I got it. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, as always. It's always fun to do these live streams. I'm not sure if I'm going to be here next week or not, but usually the time to watch is Wednesday night about, let's see, I think I started at 8:55 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that seems to work. It seems like more people can get on as it gets a little later. So look for me next Wednesday around the same time, maybe. And so, you know, sometimes you'll get it, sometimes you don't. But gear reviews to look forward to. Devin's asking about, so I'll briefly toss this in here. But you'll see you'll probably see that Cascade Mountain Tech trekking poles with a direct comparison face to face with the Z-Packs trekking poles, just to see exactly how similar they are. You'll also see the Outdoor Vitals Summit 0 degree bag, which would be kind of cool. I'm really looking forward to that one because I really want to. That's a big hole I had in my winter gear that I'm hoping to fill, and we'll see how it kind of performs. Those are the two big ones that come to mind, and I always have some video ideas. I'm not going to share them exactly now, but they're kind of fun to do, because you know how this brain thinks. I'm just kind of like, what if this were to happen? What if that were to happen? And I like making video about those things because they're kind of fun to watch. But I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching, guys. Oh, lighter pack. Let me go ahead and share it on here before I take off. Lighter pack. Here is my lighter pack from, let's see. Oh, that's not it. Sorry, that's just general lighter pack. Here it is. It's right. Copy. And, oh. Here it is. Edit and try again. There was nothing wrong with that. Let me try it again. I don't know why that's not coming up, but I think you can see it still on the feed, thankfully. So there it is. I'll leave it up for now. But thanks for watching, guys. That is my lighter pack from 4-Pass Loop. So hopefully that helps give you some idea about what I'm carrying. But once again, thanks for watching, guys. Peace.